Ramattra's abilities were just introduced, being deemed by the devs as the first ever tempo tank, which I have to say is something that I have never heard before as a top 500 player, mostly because it is just not a real thing. Tempo is a very complex topic that is inherent to every single character, not just Ramattra, so now's the perfect time to review this concept and how truly understanding it will change the way you play the game forever. In short, tempo is essentially how fast a character or composition wants to play to get the most value out of their kits as possible. Different characters influence the tempo of a fight in different ways, but let's explain a few examples before discussing this. Generally, characters that want to play fast want to get up close and personal and finish the fight quickly. So brawly compositions that use characters like Reinhardt and Junker Queen as tank, DPSs of Reaper, Mei, and Cassidy, and supports like Lucio and Moira generally want to get really close and just end the fight as fast as possible. The longer the fight goes on for these characters, generally the less likely they are to win. Why? Because if they aren't up close and melting the enemy quickly, it is likely they are far away and taking damage from a multitude of angles, causing them to lose. On the opposite side of the spectrum, you have much slower characters that generally want to elongate the fight and take their time to create opportunities and picks. Spammy compositions want to use these kinds of characters, including tanks like Sigma and Roadhog, DPS like Pharah, Hanzo, Ashe, and others alongside supports like Zenyatta, Mercy, or Baptiste in some situations. The longer the fight goes on for these characters, generally the more likely they are to win. Why? Because if they are far away and playing slower, they are increasing the chances that they will find a pick or simply just deal enough damage to destroy the enemy before they get too close. These two examples are making the concept of tempo seem very easy, but understand there is much more that goes into it. Not all compositions are slow all of the time or fast in comparison. Sometimes compositions are played best when there is an ebb and flow between fast and slow playstyles. For example, at the end of Overwatch 1, the strongest composition included characters like Wrecking Ball, D.Va, Tracer, Sombra, or Ashe, and Zenyatta and Brigitte. The tempo of this composition may not seem clear to you. They should not play super fast at all times, but not slow at all times either. Instead, they are looking to play until an opportunity presents itself to the team to be aggressive and make good use of an advantage. Thus, they are kind of in the middle, where the control of tempo is done by an entire team. If Wrecking Ball manages to find a target out of position, he can aggress onto it with his friendly Tracer to destroy them quickly. Sometimes the Zenyatta will find a cheeky pick that ends the fight then and there, and the same goes for the other DPS outside of Tracer. The tempo switches from fast to slow in this composition, and that is what the dev team is getting at. Ramattra seems to have the ability to shift the tempo of the fight drastically. It is very simple to see how this is the case because his kit literally switches from one of high range damage to one of up close domination with his Rampage form. Just because it is straightforward though does not mean he is a tempo tank, nor does it mean that that concept necessarily exists. I am not making this point to hate on Blizzard, but rather to help players that are new to the game avoid these mistakes. So why is tempo important for you to understand, and what does it mean in your ranked games? After all, we've only discussed very specific compositions that typically are never locked in the disorganized environment ladder brings. The thing is that tempo can tell you a lot about how you should be playing the game. Understanding the tempo of both teams can help you choose the character you should be playing, the way you use your abilities, and how you position yourself according to the enemy and their tempo. First, let's put each hero on a spectrum regarding how fast they are and where they tend to lie on the distribution of tempo. As you can see, what we have discussed thus far in the video applies to the tier list on screen, but when playing funky compositions, you have to weigh how you should be playing differently. For example, if you are a Junker Queen player, you have to understand that you cannot play as fast with a Mercy as you could with a Lucio. Having this knowledge can help guide you to the answers of questions like, how close can I hold? How aggressive can I be with my shout? And should I switch to a slower tank like Zarya or even Hog? Let's now say that you are playing Junker Queen and the enemy is playing the exact same composition you are, but only with one difference. You have a Lucio and the enemy has a Mercy. If you play slower than the enemy, you are much more likely to lose, as you are letting the enemy play to their desired tempo. That being said, if you play faster, you are much more likely to win, as you are playing to your desired tempo while denying theirs, since you have a Lucio and they have a Mercy. To close, tempo is a balancing game within Ranked. We all know that Ranked is not perfect. The playlist is littered with one-tricks and people that will just not switch. Thus, to win, you have to adapt and play with what you got. By weighing the overall tempos of both teams, you can have a better idea of how to use your cooldowns more effectively, and most importantly, control the speed of the game to benefit your team while plaguing your enemy, even on characters that aren't Ramattra. Ramattra is not a tempo tank. He is, well, just a tank. tank. However, he is unique in the way that he wants to control the game. Not too fast, not too slow, but right in between the two. Tempo is an incredibly difficult concept to grasp, but if you can manage to figure it out, you will find the game is much easier to think through and understand. That being said, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below, or join the Discord where you can message me directly or meet tons of other players just like you to aid in your climb. Thank you so much for watching, but until next time, I've got to peace out and Paz out. I'll see you in the next one.